have the honor today and privilege of introducing your new county chairman to you. He really needs no introduction as a 30-year career Marine veteran. And I will tell you before I read his bio that he has hit the ground running from day one. And for the rest of the board, the 4 district commissioners, I don't know how they feel, but I feel like I'm in boot camp. And I've never been in the military. But he's doing an awesome job. We're really getting things done. And I just can't say how great it's been just in the first few months to work with Mike Boyce.
To orientation class, because I believe that you set the example from the top. So that means that I walked into the office that I had never been to. I saw a desk there that about the right size office, put my laptop down, put my my Marine Corps beer mug on the desk, got comfortable, and about 30 minutes later, Jimmy, who was one of the outside ladies, comes in and says, "What are you doing in Millie's office?" I didn't even know there was another room back there. So I'm still getting the feel of it, but I do want to say a couple things about being the chairman of this county. First of all, this is not an existential experience for me. This job, I don't need this job. I took this job because I thought I could do it better than my predecessor, and I'm doing exactly what Kay's doing. You get out there and you start knocking on doors, and you get to meet some of the nicest people in the world. Those of you that have never done door-to-door have no idea what you're missing in this county. They're just wonderful people. The second thing is that you can complain about something, and there's a lot of people who complain about something, or you can go do something about it. And when I tell people, if you're going to do something about it, then you got to give 150%. You can't half-step it. Because once you're in, you're in. And I'm not just talking about the campaign, I'm talking about this job. Because I had to laugh what Commissioner Burrows said. Yeah, it's boot camp without the yellow steps, and you get to sleep in past 4 o'clock, so quit whining. But the board is absolutely amazing. And when she said we, that is the operative pronoun. This board, we are doing things together. And my commitment to the board members when I first came in was there'll be no surprises. There'll be nothing that I do, whether I vote or what I say in email, that I have not talked to them about already, so they have some idea where they're coming from. And it was very interesting when I went to class at Athens to learn how to be a county chairman. I would have come in having been a commander, had a staff, and trying to run this county like I ran a Marine Corps organization. We just started out with a 3-mile run at 0600. But the bottom line is I've learned that my responsibility as a chairman are to do 2 basic things. I run the meetings, and I help write the budget. And if you keep everyone involved in the meetings informed, then the meetings will go rather well. And the reason they've been so long is that we have so many things that we have to deal with. My top 3 priorities when I came in were, first of all, the pay study. You have a county staff that is grossly underpaid. And they do things that you have no idea about because of their loyalty and passion for being public servants. So we had to do something to start addressing that. And I'm trying to convince them that this pay study, what we have done, we've just taken care of the first 2,000 people out of a 5,000 employee county. We can't fix everything overnight because we didn't get here overnight. But we are committed to giving them the compensation that reflects the amount of work and the skill of the labor force you have here. People take this county for granted because these employees do their work right. You just, whatever, the roads, the police, the water, it all works. And after a while, you just get used to it working. And when it doesn't work, it's such an exceptional thing that you're just like, what's going on here? You seek perfection, and you darn near get it with the staff. So we have to make sure that we take care of these magnificent men and women. And the pay study was my first priority, and the board worked with me on that. We delayed it a month to make sure that the product that we had bought, contracted for, was in fact a COP-specific product and not a template. Otherwise, I'd have tried to push it in January. We went back to the department heads, had them talk to their people, and they did exactly that, and we passed the pay study last month. And in June, they will start to see the benefits of that. Not a month sooner, because we only have a finite amount of money, and I wanted to make sure that we could continue to pay these people that would get the benefit of the pay study through September 30th of 2018. Why is that? Because during my campaign, I promised I would not raise taxes, except for the second thing on my priority list, which was the Parks Bond. The Parks Bond is long delayed, but I felt that it was a mandate that still rung clear from the people, and we had to do what we could do while the time still allowed. Quite honestly, I was amazed that after 8 years, we could still get $24.7 million out of it. And those who don't understand the legislation, I'm not going to go through it here, but the bottom line is there was only so much we could do every time we delayed it a year. So I was happy with the 24.7, and I can assure you that Roberta Cook and Jennifer Burke are going to be on me until I come up with the other $15 million. But we'll do that too. And then my third thing was, of course, the Braves. You know, I made a comment yesterday at the board hearing that you don't know me if you don't believe me that my word is my bond. Life can be very simple. If you say it, you got to do it. It's that simple. And we said 3 years ago, we said we're going to do it, and we got to do it. So the challenge for me was to, first of all, establish a reference point that we could have a discussion on. And those of you that have read the media, obviously there were lots of lists out there they kept going back to. But my point was, none of the lists meant anything to me unless they've been brought to the board. And none of these lists have been brought to the board. So for me, they had no standing. Until we could get a list that talked about that the board had seen and would approve, then I couldn't go back to the Braves with something that, you know, would legitimately establish that we're going to use taxpayers' money for something that the board had not seen approved. So for 6 weeks, Mr. Hankerson and Ms. Dance worked with the Braves to come up with a list, and that's what we voted on yesterday. But more importantly than the list, believe it or not, was the memorandum of agreement about the bridge. Why is that? Because if we had not passed that memorandum of agreement yesterday, we would not be able to use the bridge for opening day. Because of the law. You know, the law, frankly, the law is a pain in the rear. Right? But it is the law, all right? And I represent the law. I represent having to enforce it. And I have a really excellent legal staff that keeps us out of trouble. And so Linda Brunt worked really hard with Michelle Swan and Kevin Moore to make sure we came up with this MOA over the weekend. We've been working on it, believe it or not, for over a year. In other words, we built this bridge without an MOA. Kind of unusual, but it is what it is. But the bottom line is we can now use that bridge to get from the south part of 285 into the SunTrust Park and Battery Park safely. And over time, there will be more traffic coming from that side of the bridge because the two business entities on both sides of 285 will finally recognize that that bridge is going to bring them together and economically be a boon for both of them. So those three things are what I was trying to focus on, and I got them done, which is why yesterday morning I offered my resignation as the chairman. I thought Bob was going to have a cow. But, so the bottom line is that those three things I thought were very important to A, show the county was a good faith partner, and B, quite honestly, was to show the business community that I could handle this aircraft carrier. There were a lot of people in this campaign that said a lot of things about me, all right, that even I didn't know about myself. I just had to go and show the business community that I can handle the reins of this $800 million county that brings in a couple billion dollars in business, and we can do it without running the aircraft carrier aground. But the bottom line is that I didn't do this, we did this. And I had to communicate to the world that this is a board that works together. Even when we have people that don't vote with the majority, everybody knows they have the ability to express their opinion freely, and we respect it. So, quite honestly, you know, Commissioner Cupid makes me a better chairman. She makes me a better chairman because she has some really good great arguments that I have to think about in order to try and convince her why she should vote with the majority, make it a 5-0 vote. And I have to say that there are people in this board that have really surprised me, because you think you know them until you get to sit down and you realize you don't know them at all. And that's been the biggest surprise about that. And I'll give you a great example of that. About 2 weeks ago, we had one of our officers come to my office because they have an autistic child. And our healthcare policy didn't cover part of their treatment. And the reality is, police officers, they do a great job, but they don't get paid all that well anywhere in America, quite honestly. So he was asking, he and his wife came and were asking for if we could do something with regard to the healthcare policy. So I listened to them, and I'm glad I did that, because there were things that came out during this discussion, because clearly they'd already been turned down by our Human Resources Department, because based on the criteria they didn't qualify. But I at least wanted to come in there and have them know that I heard them, and if I had something I could do for them, I would try and do it. But it came out during the course of the talk, there were some things that actually our HR person didn't know about. So I said, I come into this meeting thinking I was going to support our HR director. I was just going to give a human face to why we couldn't do it. And it turned out I wrote a long email to the commissioner saying, I think we can do something here to help them out. And yesterday, during one of the meetings, I brought this back up. And to my utter amazement, one of the commissioners who I thought would say, well, we're not doing that because he's like me, a black and white guy. I said, no, we need to do this. If you don't bring issues up freely before the board, then the answer is always going to be no. And what I'm finding is that as I bring issues up more and more, it's not that I'm looking for a yes answer. What I'm finding out is we're getting a better answer, so when we vote on something, we're fully informed and it's a better decision. And that's what I think that, for me, if I can continue to unleash this power in our board members, this will make this not only a better board, all right, because it's already a great board, but it will make it a board that will lead this county and make it a better county. It's a lot of work. We have this saying in the Marine Corps, you can sleep after you die. I'm about there, okay? So her boot camp analogy is very close, but it's all for a good purpose, because, I really enjoy working with this board. I really do. They never fail to amaze me in how they come to a decision, and it's a better decision. So what I'm telling you right now is, if a day goes by when what we do in government doesn't show up in the paper, that means we're doing our job. Because the media today wants to focus on the negative. That's what sells papers. And this board, all right, occasionally things will show up there, but as you read about us, you'll see how we went through the process. We make it truly open and transparent. And even if you don't agree with us, now you know why you don't agree with us, all right? Because we made it very clear as to what our thoughts were. And I think that's the best you can get out of us, all right, is that you're owed an honest and open opinion as to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get there. And I can assure you, this board listens to you. The controversy of all the tethering right now is a direct result of one of the members of this community coming to the board, talking about the tethering ordinance, and we decided, they got a point, so let's try and fix this. So it's a long, arduous process. I'm delighted to be here. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the next 3 years and 10 months, but hopefully not at this pace. But I can assure you right now, this county is in good hands, and you're in good hands. So I've also learned that a good way to make sure you come back is to talk very briefly, and then open the floor to questions. So I'm here to answer any question you might have about any issue that I can speak of, except anything that was in executive session. Wow, this always happens. Nobody has any questions. I guess. Well, yes, please.
You want to speak more a little bit about the relationship with the Braves and how that's going?
Sure, absolutely. He asked about how the relationship's going with the Braves. The first time I sat down with the Braves was after I won the runoff last July. And I just wanted to let them get to know who I was, because obviously they were very concerned given the nature of the campaign. And then I met them again after January 1st when I was sworn in. And I had made a commitment to them to resolve this $14 million issue. I just thought it was a standing issue that had not been resolved, and in my line we had to resolve it. I can tell you that between January 2nd or 3rd when I met them and today, I've had 2 conversations with the Braves, Mike Plant, about this whole topic. And they were both to let him know what the process is, so when Mr. Hankerson and Ms. Dance come to talk to him, he gets to understand where we're coming from. Obviously, during the certificate of occupancy for the Brave Stadium, there were a lot of issues. They were feeling the pressure to have that CO done on time. I'm here to tell you right now, no one from the Braves ever called me and asked for a favor. That's how good this relationship is. We trust each other. When I told Mike Plant I would work with the board and we would find a way through this issue in the 14 million, all right? I think now he realizes the kind of person he's dealing with. Doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy road, but I find it a very professional relationship. Our challenge is we're a government. We provide services. You know, we provide public safety, roads, water, sewer, buy green space, but we are not organized to run a business. And yet here we are partnered with a $350 million enterprise that which we can use 4 days a year. Right now, I don't get a sense anybody in this government even knows how to run an event at a stadium that big. So that's another issue I'll be bringing to the board eventually. We have to find something, you know, to make sure this partnership is an equal partnership. Bring people on board that show that we have a business enterprise that we're part of, and we want to make sure that we're using your tax dollars openly and correctly, but more importantly, perhaps we can generate some revenue out of these tax dollars, out of this venture, so we can keep your millage rate low. We need to have SunTrust Stadium and Battery Park and that whole environment around there be successful, because it will bring increased assessments, and with increased assessments will come funds so I can keep the millage rate low. So I'm committed to make this as a successful enterprise, and right now I see nothing that won't prevent that from happening. We have a terrific relationship with the Galleria and the board over there. They worked with us on this MOA for the bridge. Michelle Swan is fantastic. And of course, Connie Elder Ender over the Childers and Klein, for Connie Engel, Childers and Klein, who takes care of the companies that are over there and the rest of the Galleria, Cumberland Mall. I'm just reaching out to them as many as I can, let them know that if there's any concerns, you know, come to me and we'll see what we can do to help you. So I think it's working real well. That's my sense. Yes, sir.
You said opening day for the bridge. When will it open? Will it open multiple days before, or?
We're shooting for April 1st, all right? And let me tell you why this is such a big deal about this bridge, okay? If we had not worked with the Galleria in a successful manner for this memorandum of agreement, we would have had the bridge to nowhere on April 1st. We'd have been, you could step across a line, but we could not step onto their parking lot, and they couldn't step onto our bridge without that agreement. All right, so there's a lot of tension in these things. But the bottom line is that because we worked with them, we have now found a way that we can connect the bridges and do it cheaper, because we no longer have to build the elevator and the stairwell. And that was on them once they realized they were truly in this game. And again, my whole point is that you don't know if there's going to be an answer until somebody asks the question. And my observation when I was running around talking to people across that part of 285 between July and January was there was no open communication between them, which is why I started up the advisory board with Bob Ott. And Bob Ott has been a superstar for that. He's really done a great job there. So none of them want to be heralded. When this all happens, it's going to be a great enterprise. Traffic, I've got the traffic problem solved. No, really, I do. The National Weather Service, on every day that the Braves are in town, are going to forecast snow. All right? Now, I have been threatened that if I'm anywhere out there in a yellow vest directing traffic, that I will be arrested, because I've been telling people for months that my opening day, I'm not going to be in the stadium. I'm going to be outside directing traffic. All right? When they realized that I was serious about that, they're starting to bring in the big guns now to make sure that I'm doing that. So traffic is going to be a problem. If you're on 41, it's going to be a problem. It is. But I'll tell you a couple good things. First of all, I was doing a ride-along last week. By the way, the reason I'm so informal is when I leave here, I'm going to be doing a police ride-along down in Precinct 5 this afternoon. And I have to put on my running shoes here real soon. So, but I was driving around the state around 7 o'clock on a weekday night, and I was really amazed, you know, and I know 41 pretty well, how relatively the traffic was pretty light, relatively. And that's good because that relative lightness will be filled in by all the cars going to the ball game. But that 7:30 start time is a big thing. You're going to be really impressed by how all this road construction and signage is going to work effectively to get people to their parking places. I think the Braves have a really good idea in using Waze when they sell their game tickets to have you go to a link and it tells you how to get to your parking place and how to get to your seat. I think that's a great idea. But the reality is that the world is populated by people, all right? And people always mess up a good plan. So it's going to take us a while to get used to the traffic patterns down there, and I'm fully ready to take care of that, all right? But I can assure you that all the money that's down there is going to have some mitigation, but I'm not going to tell anybody that it's not going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue, but I'm okay with that. Because once you park your car and get to the Battery Park or the SunTrust Stadium, you're going to have a wonderful experience. You're going to be blown away by the stadium when you get in there. It's got some really magic stuff. And someday they're going to let me come in there and see it. So, one last question, and I know you all have to go back to work. Yeah, Sheriff Warren.
I have a question and a question, and a follow-up. What is your, what issues is facing Cobb County that General Assembly is dealing with right now?
Well, does anybody here work for somebody in the Assembly? Just like a no confirmation zone here.
Any major issues?
No, there's some minor ones, quite honestly. But the thing is that a lot of minor ones add up to big ones. Right now, there's an issue about whether or not we can put certain items on a tax bill to inform you about what's going on. We're trying to use as much of our documents right now to inform you, and we're being told by someone in the Assembly that we don't want to put anything on the tax bill except the tax bill. Well, you know, that restricts us from being able to inform you. Why is that so important? Because today everybody gets information from 9 or 10 different sources. All right, in the old days, you go to the paper, you read everything. You don't do that anymore. So I need to find as many venues as I can to keep you informed about what's going on in the county. So things like that seem minor, but to someone like us, you know, they're big deals. But I have a great relationship with the delegation.
And then just one comment. When you get through with the ride-alongs with the PD,
Right.
I invite you for a lockup out of the county jail.
Well, my worst fear is that they've digitized the parking tickets from Washington, D.C. in 1969. That's my biggest fear.
I guess that's a good way.
I do want to end with one last thing. This is not an endorsement, but I want to tell you that those people that are running for office, my hat's off to them. My hat's off to them. Because I thought I knew what I was getting into when I started it, and I was mistaken. But it turned out to be one of the greatest experiences of my life. So I just want to say a great shout out to anyone who is running for office, if you're supporting somebody. This is why America is so great, because we have open democracy. So get out there and vote for the SPLOST this week or next week, and then vote for your candidates next month. So thank you very much.